Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Jayson Swain joins us now on the show. Have we had you on before? I feel like that is an offensive question for me to ask, but I want to say that this may be your debut appearance.
Well, I think this might be the second time, Buck, but it's always a pleasure to be on with you, man. You do a great job.
It's so disrespectful that we would only have had you on 2 times for all the insight and knowledge that you bring. Of course, you can hear him during the Vol Network broadcast. Tennessee having a scrimmage over the weekend, and a lot of different things, a lot of interesting things to be learned from there. What's been your kind of perspective on this team heading into this specific season from a 1,000-foot view before we dive into specifics here, Swain?
Well, from a 1,000-foot perspective, this team is deeper. This team is bigger. They're more athletic. They're more talented. They have a quarterback that can take them a long way. They have the personnel, and that's something Josh Heupel has been building over the last couple of years. They're not where they want to be, but they're certainly in a better place than they were a year ago, 2 years ago. So that's the overall thought, just looking at this program, this team from 1,000 feet above.
You can hear him on the Sports Animal 99.1 in Knoxville. Josh and Swain, they are getting ready to start their radio show. He's very good to take time out of his day and his show prep to join our show here on The Zone.
What were the main takeaways, Swain, on Friday? It felt like Chris Brazzell got a lot of buzz after the weekend. In terms of the offense, obviously Nico's going to be a headline, but outside of the quarterback, what did people come away talking about on Friday?
Well, for me, it's about this defensive line and how deep they are. I mean, that 2001 defensive line was amazing, and they had John Henderson, they had Albert Haynesworth, Will Overstreet. They had some studs on that defensive line. This defensive line, I don't think they have the same personnel, but they're deeper. I mean, they can go 12 to 14 guys, and that's pretty significant when you look at this league and how it's a line of scrimmage league. And how it's important to rotate guys in and out. Now, if you play an offense that's similar to the offense that you play every single day and practice against every day, then they may not want you to rotate those guys in and out. But for Tennessee, they don't play those type of offenses. So they'll have an opportunity to rotate the guys in and out, and the drop-off won't be that significant. Everyone thinks about James Pierce because he's going to be a top 5, top 10 pick. But there's a lot of other NFL guys on the defensive line. That's what really stood out to me. With Tennessee having 3 guys on the offensive line that may start, taking that Friday off, the defensive line really made it difficult for the offensive line and the offense to really get in rhythm. So that was the main takeaway I took away from the scrimmage on Friday. You mentioned Chris Brazzell, certainly a really, really good player on the outside. He was held back a little bit on Friday, so didn't get a chance to see him make a lot of plays. We saw him during the course of fall camp be a big target for Nico and be able to make plays on the outside as well.
There's a lot of logistical value from scrimmages or preseason games, in our case, Swain, and especially with the changes that college football has this year. For example, the headset communication that coaches and players are going to have to get accustomed to. What's been the feedback kind of from not just the coaching staff, but from the players, if you've had the opportunity to talk to them specifically about that?
No, I haven't had the opportunity to talk to them about that, but just offensively, you think about what Tennessee has done over the last 3 years and what they want to continue to do entering Heupel's 4th season, and that's go extremely fast. Heupel's first season, he was 1 or 2 in the country at plays per minute. 2022 wasn't that far off from that, and then last year was a little slow. You certainly want to get back to that this year. You have Cooper Mays, who is really the guy that makes everything go from a tempo standpoint, getting up to the line of scrimmage. Nico is a really intelligent quarterback, so you don't worry about him being able to handle the tempo. I don't see a world where like the helmet communication is going to make it faster or keep it the same. I just feel like look over to the sideline, you get your call as quick as possible, and then you go line up and run the play. I'm thinking about the NFL. There's a huddle. There's a play that's called into the quarterback. The quarterback calls that play and tells everybody else what they're doing. That seems to be something that goes against what Heupel's offense is all about. Now, the technology capabilities on the sideline to be able to make adjustments, I mean, that's right up Hypo's alley. That's right up really anyone's alley when you're looking to make adjustments in game. So I'm still learning about how Hypo's going to use the communication in the helmet to make it faster or keep it the same tempo.
That's an interesting thought, Swain, because we had Adam Sparks on the other week, and he brought up some of those same concerns that it's hard to envision a way where it makes you faster on offense in terms of that tempo. Is there any sort of reality where Tennessee and Josh Heupel just elect not to use the in-helmet communication?
Well, there's a reality that Josh Heupel's not going to tell us. that's a big reality. He is someone that's going to keep everything close to the vest when it comes to injuries, when it comes to anything he wants to do offensively. But I just, again, guys, I can't see a world where the in-helmet communication allows you to operate the same tempo that you have in the past or make it faster. Now, defensively, I see a lot of advantages because you want to be able to check. You want to make sure you have a quarterback in the back end that's getting guys lined up. And it's important because you're going to play at home, and it gets really, really, really loud at home. One of the most loud stadiums in the SEC. And so defensively, there's times when you can't hear. You got to get the call in quick as possible and then use your nonverbal hand signs to be able to communicate with guys in the back end. So I'm learning. Maybe we'll hear something more from Josh Heupel about his plan to use it offensively. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. It's based on the way that I've seen that guy conduct press conferences. I just don't anticipate learning too terribly much from him about that specific a situation. SwainEvent.com, of course, is where you can go to watch Jayson Swain on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, on those live stream platforms, 7 to 10 a.m. on weekdays beyond just the radio show that he's doing as well. Speaking of injuries and disclosing injury information, no secret that Jordan Thomas, their starting star, is going to miss the remainder of the season with a knee injury. What can you tell us about the competition that's developing for his job and how the defense is going to have to acclimate without?
Yeah, that's a pretty big blow, guys. I mean, you're talking about someone who's experienced, who last year was really starting to prove to the coaches that he can play at this level and play at a high level. Watching the Georgia game last year, you can kind of measure guys and see if they belong on the same field with Georgia. And Jalen Wright had the first touchdown of the game, first play of the game, and you knew he belonged. Look where he's playing right now. But Jordan Thomas, to me, looked like he belonged. He's making plays in space, and then he gets hurt. A lot of momentum this offseason coming into this year as being the starting star, the nickel back for Tennessee, and then he goes down with a pretty significant knee injury, is going to be out for the rest of the year. It gives an opportunity to Boo Carter, who is an unbelievable athlete right here from Tennessee, could play receiver, could have played DB, but he's going to be a DB, and he's been making plays so far. The thing about him, he's a true freshman, and you have to earn the trust of the defensive back coach, of the defensive coordinator, if you're going to be counted on to be out there during the games. Now, Christian Harrison started his career as a corner, moved to safety. Looks like he's going to battle with Boo Carter for that star position. And so that's the effect of the Jordan Thomas injury. And hopefully you don't have any more, but you see around the league and the country that a lot of really good players on good teams are getting hurt in the preseason.
So with Thomas out and a guy that was supposed to be a leader for this defensive backfield, there's a general feeling, I think, that they're more athletic, that they're more talented than last year. But if I were to ask you who's the most reliable Tennessee defensive back right now, what would your answer be?
Reliable, I like to go with the best. I think the best defensive back is Jamal McCoy, the transfer for Oregon State. You can line him up and say, hey, go follow that receiver to the toilet. And he'll do that. He can defend the ball when it's in the air, has great ball skills. He has the speed to be able to run with receivers. So I would say him just because he's the best cover guy. You look at a guy like Andre Turntime, who has seen a lot of football. He has competed against a lot of really good receivers, Tennessee, Ohio State. He was right there, I thought, number one safety last year in the preseason, and then Jalen McCullough kind of took over because, again, he's a guy that the coaches trust. He's going to line people up. He's going to be at the right place at the right time, even though Turntime may be a little bit more athletic. So I'm going to go with Jamal McCoy, though. That's the guy I trust the most just because he's been making plays.
Swain, what's the discussion been around this offensive line throughout the course of camp? Obviously, Lance Hurd, a big get at left tackle. Cooper Mays, as reliable as ever at center. But a couple of position battles going on. At this point in camp, what's the general discussion about that group that's going to be protecting Nico?
The first team is good as anyone in the league. There's a question at left guard. Is that going to be Jackson Lampley or Andrew Carrick or Sham Umarov? Like who is it going to be? It looks like it's going to be Carrick, but he's had injury concerns over the last couple of years he's been here at Tennessee. Outside left guard, you got talent all over. The question is, if someone gets hurt, will second team tackle, guard, center be ready to go? We saw last year Cooper Mays how him not being out there really affected this offense. And Tennessee's offense struggled early in the season. And then when we got him back versus South Carolina, you saw the big difference in Tennessee's offense. So I'm pretty comfortable with the first team. I do have questions about the second team and how far along those guys are if there were an injury.
The AP Top 25 preseason poll comes out yesterday. Tennessee, I think unsurprisingly, comes in at 15. We expected it to be ballpark that area. Was there anything that caught you by surprise based on the preseason poll, understanding that this poll is as invaluable and actually meaningful to the regular season as any of the polls that we'll see moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's good when you need a little 10-minute segment to talk about, but honestly, as a former player, I don't really care about the poll. What's interesting, though, is that usually Tennessee or any team that stomps a top 15, top 10 team in a bowl game, and they have a lot of guys returning, especially the offensive defensive line, typically you see those teams ranked a little bit higher than 15. But Tennessee secondary, I think, is giving people a little cause to pause, and I certainly understand that. I look at the running back group. It may do the same because of the lack of experience and some questions there with guys being banged up. But, I mean, don't be afraid of Nico just because he's a first-time starter. He's special. You have the offensive line returning, defensive line returning, and the defensive line may be the deepest and the best that we've seen in a very, very long time here at Tennessee. So a little surprised that it was 15, but honestly, guys, I don't care. You beat NC State, you beat Oklahoma, you'll be in the top 10 before you know it.
As far as like discussions go, you bring up first-year starter Nico. The kind of narratives that I think can be overplayed, right? Because we had it brought to our attention by a listener. We weren't even bringing it up at the time when we were discussing it. The idea that he's already been under Josh Heupel for a year, and because, the game experience is the most valuable, of course, that's the thing that he has yet to get consistently. But it's not like this is all entirely new for him because he's already been working with this coaching staff for a season.
Number one, you got smart listeners. Nico proved in practice that he didn't need 13 reps versus Austin P, in a blowout game. Like, there were fans that wanted to see him and were using that as a crutch. Oh, we need to get him game reps. No, you don't. Not against the third team of a, inferior team. What Nico did in practice proved to the coaches that he would be ready to go when it was his time to start. He's a different cat, man. He's very intelligent, laid back, really good leader, just easy to follow. And on top of that, he's very, very talented. So this coaching staff, they know from a personality standpoint, he'll be fine. He'll make mistakes because he's a young player, but you're hoping that there's a lot of, talented players around him that will be able to help him when he does make his mistake. But yeah, he's special. I'm not worried about him being a first-time starter. We saw in the bowl game, the plays that he was making, he looked a little beyond his time at times in that game too. But I'm not worried about him being a first-time starter, man. He's special.
Jayson Swain, which marketing campaign has made a bigger splash this morning? Will Levis's mayonnaise fragrance or Neyland Stadium and Pilot?
Oh, man. That mayonnaise sounds nasty right there.
$8 is what they're charging, Swain. $8 for this mayonnaise perfume.
Oh, no, man. No, thank you. I'm going to go with Neyland Stadium and Pilot. That's a pretty big deal, man. Renovating the stadium, making the stadium, fan friendly, making it a great experience. Pollard's always been a supporter of Tennessee, but making it official with the name on the field, I think would be really, really cool.
I think Levis has at least come up with the perfect gag gift for you. I don't know how many Kentucky people you have in your life, Swain. I assume, like most of us, you've cut those people out of your life entirely. But if you wanted to send them something funny, maybe some $8 mayonnaise perfume might be right up their alley.
Well, John Summerall is my high school teammate, the head coach at Tulane.
Yeah.
He went to Kentucky. That's probably the only guy that I got from Kentucky in my life.
SwainEvent.com is where you can watch him. Of course, you can hear him on Josh and Swain on our Cumulus sister station there in Knoxville, the 99.1 Sports Animal. SwainEvent.com, like I mentioned, and at SwainEvent on Twitter and Instagram is where you can follow along. Buddy, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it. We'll have you back more often, I promise.
Let's do it, Buck. See you, man. Have a good one.
Jayson Swain there with us on 104.5 The Zone, getting us up to date on the latest with the Tennessee Vols. Coming up next, we will get into the thing in sports that made us say, oh no. Jackson, do I have anything in the nebulous prize bucket?
Yes, of course you do. You have 2 tickets for Titans and Seahawks this weekend, as well as a $100 gift card to a Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa.
We love to see it. A $100 gift card for you to get a little TLC from a Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa, plus 2 tickets to Titans and Seahawks coming up this Saturday, preseason game number 2 at Nissan Stadium. 615-737-1045. You call that number, you tell us what in sports made you say, oh no.